Hey guys, it's Jonathan McCormack. I'm an attachment specialist. You can find me at attachmenthealinghelp.com. I do parts work, ideal parent for your protocol. But I'm doing a series right now on relationship OCD. It's basically OCD except with relationships specifically. The reason I'm doing it is because everyone has these thoughts, just not to this degree. But if you have any anxious attachment, you have many of these things. It doesn't mean you have relationship OCD, but many of these things will apply, And this is off a book by Sheva, Rajaee, Relationship OCD. So this video will be about making space, The Viktor Frankl, he did, Man's Search for Meaning, did a couple years in Auschwitz, survived. He once said that between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space, that place, that little space is all our power. That's the power for us to choose our response, And how we respond will deliver our growth and our freedom. How much we grow, how free we feel, will all be found in that little space between something happens and before you react, you pause, there's a space, and you decide, what are you going to do? The problem with rumination and anxiety is there's very little space. You have a thought, and it's fact, Oh, I wonder if my girlfriend's cheating. And then all of a sudden, your brain says, oh, Lord, your girlfriend's cheating. It acts like it's real, that's happening. And you get physiological responses. Oh, start bunching up and get anxiety. Because you say, well, it's just a thought. You don't know if it's true, but your body reacts like it is true. And so if it feels true, that's probably the story you're going to follow. Whatever feels true is going to be the one that feels correct. I know some people, they try to fend off every thought with like a correction. My girlfriend might be cheating me. No, she isn't. Yes, she is. And you start arguing. Look at the proof. Look at that. Sometimes that can help, but more than likely, that drags you into an argument. It's just like an argument. Your girlfriend's cheating with you. No, that's not true, but maybe it is. Oh, now you're in this conversation, and oh Lord, you're in it. You're in it. But if you stop paying attention to it, your girlfriend's cheating. Oh yeah, right. I know that thought. And you just let it go. That'll quiet down. It'll stop. Your brain will stop nagging you. But to do that, you have to allow it to coexist with you. No one likes that answer. They come, and again, this is really for OCD, not just anxiety. But if you have serious rumination, serious thought, they want to know, how do I shut down? How do I get rid of this? How do I just shut down the conversation completely? I don't want to hear that voice. Get that voice out of my head. And the first step, first of all, I don't know if that's possible, but if it is, it is to some degree. I don't know how much, it depends on the person. But if it is, the first step is actually accepting it. The first step, as counterintuitive as it sounds, is to pull up a chair and be like, here you go. What were you saying? My girlfriend, da-da-da-da. Okay. And you don't argue. You're not going to say you're wrong. You're not going to try and get away from it. But okay, you welcome that part. Like, okay, fine. You don't have to respond, but you have to coexist, And even though that's going on, you're not arguing. You're not arguing back. So there's a lot less noise in your head. And whatever noise is left over, after, you have to tolerate that noise. You have to accept it without any intention of changing it. Listen, you have that thought, you can calm down, and then you could do the pros and cons. Well, is she really chimmy? Is she not? But then after that, there's only so much clarity you're going to get. There's only so much information we have. There's still going to be doubts, 100%. Expect it, accept it. Yeah, even after I make a decision, no, she's probably not cheating on me. No, she's okay. The relationship's okay. Even after that, you're still going to have doubts. There's still going to be a little check. Are you sure? Are you really sure? That's to be expected. What you don't want to do is be like, are you sure? Oh, well, I'm having doubts. Shouldn't I? I should be sure and certain about it. What does that say that I'm suspecting my girlfriend? Who knows? I don't know. Maybe she is. That's not the point. If you have space, then you can make a decision about it, right? You can actually think about it rationally. If there's no space, oh, she's cheating on me. Oh, well, then you're not going to think clearly about this, You'll have fear, you'll have anxiety. You won't be creative. You will not see solutions, So you can quiet the brain down. Can you get to stop? Well, I don't think so myself, So, ideally what that anxiety is basically kind of trying to teach you about the relationships that it would like you to have. It very much dictates the boundaries of what can and can't happen. And it's really not you shaping your vision, And you kind of discover, though, that the big thing is that, living a fulfilling and meaningful life, it doesn't require getting rid of these ruminations, getting rid of the anxiety. That's what a lot of people think, and that's where they get stuck. They sit there and say, once my anxiety's over, then I'll go out and I'll do this. Once I stop having ruminations, then I'll start living my life. Then I will celebrate. Then I will go out to friends. And they'll do that for 40 years. They'll do that forever, But you can still have ruminations, have all this anxiety, and still kind of live a fulfilling, meaningful life, without solving all the burning questions in your head. And the only thing it really requires is learning that you stop paying so much attention to them, Very much this is kind of like a fading kind of a cinema star. Your anxiety still craves the attention and focus, and it always will. It always will. That's just how the brain is designed. That's not going to stop. But if you just tolerate it, you expect it there, you accept it and tolerate it, kind of its doom and gloom messaging, you can just focus elsewhere, You just kind of activate one of the most effective tools in your entire arsenal. This is the most effective thing you can do for anxiety. Make it irrelevant. Maybe my girlfriend, okay, maybe, but I can't know that, so who cares? Yeah, I have that thought. You think about it, evidence, I can't come to a conclusion. I don't know, but probably not. Oh, okay, that's okay, fine. You don't need to be certain, You don't need that anxiety to go away. You don't need those doubts to go completely away. They can still be there, and you can still have a great relationship. That will not will that affect it? Yeah, a little bit. But if it's just there and you expect it, it will not prevent it. It won't prevent it. You can still have those things. Maybe not to the degree you want, but you can still have those things. And believe me, I know people with severe OCD. You would never know in a million years because they just allow it, they accept it, they let it go. And of course they have their bad days and good days. But they get married, they fall in love, they have kids, they have careers, It takes a couple of years in therapy and kind of to allow this and the willingness to feel it, but they can do it. And of course, you're probably thinking like, oh, why should I get friendly with my anxiety? This is my enemy. Why? Well, basically because it's the best way to prevent it from ruining your life. That's why. You could see it as an enemy, and that's fine, but now you're at war with yourself, You're the enemy. A part of you is the enemy then, But if it's friendly, it can calm down. Those are your choices. Calm down or to have it really angry. A choice is not just to have it disappear. Not if this is really embedded inside you. Not if this is truly kind of an OCD-ish and people with anxiety problems. I know they don't want to hear it, but this is just the reality. Some people are born with a high blood pressure. No matter what they do, they can't go hiking, they can't do this, they can't do that. They have to live with it. If you have some of these things, there's things you can do to quiet it down, to get better, to manage it. Absolutely. Get rid of it? No, probably not, And if you don't, and by the way, and if you're not willing to, and I don't blame you, like who the hell wants to live with this? And if you're like, no, hell no, the more you're unwilling to, the more it embeds in you. And people get stuck there. And usually when they come for like acceptance and commitment therapy or any kind of like acceptance therapy, they're at the end of the rope. They tried a million things, and they're like, wow, finally I'm ready. I'm ready to coexist. How do you do it? You make space. You make space. Basically, it's about expanding your tolerance to include things you don't want to feel, but have to feel anyway. It's kind of like living, think about this. Like, it's almost like, who does it? Michael Singer has that, is that his name? Untethered. He has that kind of, he talks about like, that voice in our head. Regardless, even if you're 100% mentally healthy, you have a voice in your head that goes on and on and on. And he's like, it's like having, like a drunken stoner roommate from college living in your head. And it's always saying the most annoying things. Maybe your girlfriend's cheating. Maybe, how do you know? Do you even love her? How do you know you love her? The other day, just constant. And you are sick of him. Here's the thing. You have to live with him, period. But there's a difference. You can live with him in a tiny bedroom, and that means you just have one voice. You just hear his voice, And that's all you hear. And that's for a lot of people who have rumination. That's all they hear. Oh, maybe girlfriend. That's all they hear. Maybe. Maybe not. No. Maybe they are. Or you can live with that roommate in a mansion with a lot of people and a lot of different voices. Maybe she's cheating. Maybe not. Maybe this. Maybe that. And you have space. A lot easier to tolerate that guy if there's more space, So that roommate will still be there. That roommate will still annoy you. You'll still get frustrated. But a lot less distress, And you yourself can expand the definition of what you're willing to experience and how much you're willing to feel, And the more you expand what you're willing to experience, the more that you are willing to feel, you'll probably notice that roommate isn't as chatty, So a lot of people at this point will say, that's unrealistic, You're talking about accepting this rumination and whatnot. No. Like even thinking about that, it's depressing, It's depressing. My Lord, this is how I have to live, Shouldn't I expect a certain level of happiness? Okay, how about this? What if the thing that's making you miserable, one of them, is your expectation to find that type of happiness? And I would suggest it is. The most miserable people I know are those who expect life to be really good. And not even really good. Like their version of just good. And their version of just good is usually good paying job, a wife, kids, and a purpose, something like that, right? Friends. Okay, 5 things, Hard to come around those 5 things. Yeah, I know plenty of people have a really good job, but their marriage is in shambles and they're completely dead in the bedroom. Oh, I know a lot of people with a lot of money and their marriage is great, but oh Lord, them and their kids, it's a train wreck, The more you expect this happiness, the more you'll be let down. Your expectations often do set the bar for how you're going to relate to things, And part of this whole philosophy is that you think there's something wrong with feeling discomfort, sadness, anxiety, doubt, right? You think like, why should I be feeling this? I'm alive, I have enough food to eat, I have a roof over my head, and I'm just miserable and I'm just filled with doubt and anxiety. And that means something's wrong. That something's wrong is so much weight. So much of your suffering is like this amount of suffering is the anxiety and I get that. But by the way, it's not small. That's like, oh. And then this part is it should be better. Because what really drives people to even suicide is not suffering. It's not suffering. Many people with terminal diseases, unless it's very painful, if there's a lot of pain, even with terminal disease, even with cancer, they don't kill themselves as often as you think so. The guy who's quadriplegic, he has less suicidal thoughts than the guy who's only partially paralyzed. Why? Because the guy who's partially paralyzed thinks, I might get better. I might get better if I just exercise more, if I just get the right medication, if I just have to try harder. I have to pray. I have to do this. Yeah. Now, if those things happen, wonderful. And should he go for them? Well, I would. I mean, why not? Why wouldn't you try? But man, if you have a lot of expectations, it's going to crush you. You know, like people who believe in a higher power will be like, you know, just do you what's the spiritual practice? This is in Vedanta too. That's one of the big things. Like you do whatever action, but the results you always give up to God. You always give up to the higher power, to the universe. You have nothing to do with the results. The results have nothing to do with you. You just do your best. You know, there's a lot of wisdom in that. And people will tell us a great deal of our suffering is the expectation for happiness. That's one, I'm not a Buddhist, but that's one of the messages of Buddhism is, you know, there's suffering. This is Pema Chardin's take on it, the Tibetan female nun. You know, she goes, you know, like, oh, it's suffering, right? We're suffering. And everyone looks around and goes, this is wrong. Something's not right. Something's not right. I'm suffering so much. And her take on Buddha's message, or one part of it was, yeah, it's supposed to be like that. There's nothing wrong. I was like, well, but I'm suffering. I'm suffering terribly. Yeah, you're supposed to. Yeah, nothing, it doesn't mean anything. No, nothing's wrong. That's exactly what you should be doing, suffering. Huh. Well, if that's your expectation, you know. But back in the day, it'd be very spiritual. Like, listen, you're here for a couple decades. This is a war. You're at war with demons in your heart, and you're only here for a minute. Okay, good. Because if this is all there was, holy crap, man, I put a bullet in my head. No, don't worry about it, man. This is like a war zone, and we're going to get through it. And there's going to be some good times, but bad times, and you know, just you're passing through. Okay, but now it's kind of like this is it. Like this is it, you know. And you put a lot of expectations on your partner, on life, like all the things that God and heaven and paradise and all these other things were supposed to be. We try to get that today in what? In what? From Netflix? I mean, what in the society would compete with that? What, for some girl, some guy? Good luck with that, you know. And people who realize, like, it's not just that they're suffering, it's also that they shouldn't be suffering. This isn't just suffering, it's unnecessary suffering. The quadriplegic, he's suffering. There's nothing he can do about it. The guy's got cancer, yeah, he's suffering. And if there's something he can do about it, chemo, he's doing it. That's all he can do. But if there is something you can do about it, at an essential level, and you believe you can get rid of it, oof, deadly the thought, because you can't. Same thing with anxiety. If you believe you can get rid of it, if you believe you can get rid of this rumination, your brain will think you should, and then you'll hate yourself. Oh my God, I went to this shame spiral. I went on and on. I'm such an idiot. Well, no. You're supposed to. Yeah, of course. The way you grew up, the way the amygdala works, this is how we evolved people. No, you're supposed to. Some of us are supposed to occasionally just, you know, run off on that. That's how it's supposed to be. You're not an idiot. It's not your fault. You're not doing that to yourself. You know, just like suffering. My suffering because it's me. Yeah, probably part of it's suffering you and the world and da-da-da-da-da. But it doesn't mean anything's wrong, you know. So, you know, people don't like that. But, you know, I say, like, you know, there's nothing wrong with feeling anxiety and doubt. There's nothing wrong with feeling disconnected from your partner. Any relationship is going to go through many, many times when you do. And if it does, that doesn't say anything. It doesn't say it's a bad relationship. It doesn't mean anything. That's going to happen. It doesn't mean if you're bored. Bored, man, it's really boring. That doesn't mean anything. So what? You're supposed to be bored at times. Doesn't mean if you're turned off. You're supposed to. You're supposed to, you know. Off days, off weeks. There are times when I have a friend and he gets overwhelmed, he has depression, and he just sleeps for like 3 days straight. Is that good for him? I actually have no idea. I would guess no, but I don't know, maybe he needs it. What do I know? But it doesn't matter. He hates himself that he does it. And me, you know, I tell him, like, there's nothing wrong with that. You buried your head in bed for 3 days. So what? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Nothing. Yeah, we're all human. Some guy would probably go drink. Some guy would do this. Some guy, you sleep. Fine. That's we're human. There's nothing wrong with that. Do what you need to do and get better, get help. But, if you have depression, sometimes it's going to be hard to get out of bed because you're depressed. It's not your fault. If there's something wrong with you, it's part of the human condition. You can still get help, So, and the fact is that I can say most of the couple problems that we read about, not just me, we read about and see, it's because they're incompatible. It's because the people are incompatible. I used to do intentional dating and for people with attachment disorders, just on the side because I saw they were struggling. I used to have the date coach for them. And there's things you do, like, first date, have fun, but, lay out your vision, what you want, what you're looking for, what you expect, what you think the relationship will look like. Like, hey, I'm Jonathan. Looking for marriage. I do this. I'm got to stay with my family. Relationship to me, well, to me it looks like getting to know the guy or the girl for like 3 months, and then after that we decide if we really want to start dating, and no sex for a couple months. That's me. Everything's very clear, very clear. And you'll see if you're compatible with the person. She'll say, "What about you?" And they tell you whatever. And now you get to watch if what they said was true. In a few weeks, you'll know. And if you take it slow, you won't get meshed with them, So the truth is, most people are completely incompatible. Well, a lot of people, not most, a lot of the troubles. And I almost want to tell them, like, this will not change. Like, this is it, So either accept it fully, that this is what your relationship is, or, move on. Ideally, you should have seen this, if you did this intentionally, instead of boomers invented dating. Hey, let's bump into a stranger and I'll lie to you for 8 months, you lie to me for 8 months, and then we'll be in love. And by the time we get honest and show the crazy, it's too late because we're entangled and we can't leave each other. Okay, that doesn't work. But because the person really won't change. In fact, the Gottman Institute, according to their statistics, 69%. 69%, almost, think about that, 2/3. 69% of all relational problems in a marriage are perpetual problems. Perpetual. They never go away. They were there when the couple met at age 19, and when they're 90, they're still repeating the exact same pattern, the exact same responses. And then that's because they result from a fundamental personality difference. And they're never solved, they're only managed. So if you're thinking you can solve, no, that's not. Your partner's going to get angry. If he does, he will always get angry. Well, he can, if he's willing to, he can manage that anger. He can take a walk, he can do this, he doesn't have to yell, he can learn how to speak. But his reaction, that nervous system reaction, that's going to stay there. It's always going to be there, And, but think about that too, and think about your own relationships. With that number, 69% are just persistent marital problems. How does your relationship look like? What are your expectations of a relationship? Because just imagine all the unnecessary anxiety. Relationships have a lot of necessary anxiety, just like there's necessary suffering. You got to go through it. But imagine all the unnecessary anxiety that we create when we live under the impression that our relationship should feel amazing, and there should be happiness, and that this is an attainable goal instead of these little oases that we ritualize, wedding anniversaries, birthdays, this, that. And then in between's the struggle. You know how much extra anxiety. So like, okay, not only am I feeling disconnected, but now I feel I shouldn't feel disconnected. And now I'm worried that means we shouldn't be together. And now I'm worried that means that maybe they're cheating on me. Why? Or maybe so much extra anxiety is when we have these false expectations, And it perpetuates the false notion that when intrusive thoughts or doubts arise, we have to fight them, or we have to solve them, or else we can't feel okay, right? I mean, why do you want to solve them? Why do you want to solve, is my girlfriend cheating? So at the end of the day, you feel, so I know the answer is no. So I can feel safe. So I can feel good. You can feel good and still be uncertain. I know that sounds kind of like, no. I have to solve this. I have to keep thinking about this until I solve it. There's only so much information. You're not going to, You can, in fact, choose to stop fighting and just learn to peacefully coexist with all these thoughts and feelings. And in that, you're redefining what it means to be happy. You might think happy is like, pleasurable state all the time, no bad thoughts, no doubts, certain in yourself, certain of where you stand, That's happiness. And that exists for at least no one. Possibly, no one. That doesn't exist. That exists for little moments of time for some people, But it's a dangerous thought. You can do that. You could achieve that, So consider this, though. Consider the possibility of having a wonderful relationship and doubts at the same time. No, not a solution to eliminate discomfort and anxiety, but kind of a journey. So you learn how to feel better by what? Getting rid of it? No. By feeling more, by expanding yourself. Because if you're living in this little room and this is the only thing you got, this voice, this anxiety, that's terrible. But if you just kind of expand, you get more emotions, more emotional range, And there's nothing necessarily wrong with pain. We need pain. We need anxiety. And by the way, even if there was, okay, now what? Because it's an unavoidable part of being alive. In fact, logically, I know people suffering is bad, it's the worst evil. And then logically, logically, we should just destroy all life on earth because then there'd be no suffering, Yeah, and again, that's her take on Buddhism too. Suffering is wrong, something's wrong. It's no, that's just what living is, If you accept, man, this sucks, man, I'm lonely, I'm disconnected, and this is what living is, you'll have a different reaction. Think about it. If you say, I shouldn't be this unhappy, I shouldn't do this, I should have this, I should do that, I bet you follow those statements with, and I hate myself for not achieving it, and I should have more friends, and I should be more likable, and does that serve you? Or if you look at the other way, but boy, I'm suffering, but this is how life is. Wouldn't you have compassion for yourself for this moment? For Jesus, man, this point in my life is tough. This is tough. Couldn't you show some compassion for yourself, And even in the best relationships, there's pain, daily pain, moments of misconnection, misunderstandings, the pain that we all go through when you realize your partner cannot fix you, cannot make you whole, cannot eradicate that deep inner loneliness that we all hoped would happen, They have that in 12-step groups, kind of they say, pain, what was it, pain, I don't know, suffering is optional, pain is necessary, something like that, Basically, pain is unavoidable in life, but the suffering's optional, so you got to go through the pain. By that, they mean suffering is our resistance to the pain, or your judgment of the pain, or your attempt to get away from the pain. And it's like a Chinese finger trap. The more you try to get away, the tighter it gets, That's a great deal of our struggle. There's a lot of psychologists who believe 90% of our struggle is just trying to get away from the pain. 10% is the actual pain, and just, okay, I'll just feel it. And even Jung said, all neurosis, was caused by the refusal of necessary suffering, So imagine you suffer the same thing, but you didn't judge it. Man, I'm so lonely, but what does that mean? That I'm a loser? That people don't like me? That I should be better? Ooh. Or what if it doesn't mean anything? It just means I'm alone, and I don't have a lot of friends now, for whatever reason. Well, now that's a little sad, And And I can do things for that, and hopefully I will. But for right now, this moment, it doesn't mean anything. If I attach meanings to it, well then it'll get really bad, It's the story we tell ourselves about what the feelings and experiences mean that we can't tolerate. I could tolerate being lonely, but if it means that I'm a loser and that no one likes me and that I'm rejected, that's hard to tolerate. I can't deal with that. That destroys me, And so, of course, our ruminations come in at that point. It will send us messages. You're not as happy as this person or that person. You go to a wedding and you look, you're like, oh, look at the bride and the husband. And, oh, look how she's looking at the husband. Oh, my girl doesn't look at me that way. I wonder if she even loves me. Look how happy they are. And look at him and da-da-da-da. And all I want to do is to enjoy this nice wedding. And instead of celebrating, you're up in your head going on and on, comparing. Look how happy they are. Look at that couple. Look at them. Da-da-da-da. And you just catastrophize. Everything's everything. Just comparing yourself into hell. Just slowly moving yourself there. And that's usually where you'll experience the most discomfort, not in the pain. It's your resistance to the pain. It's in the suffering, You suffer because of your attempts to control it, to escape it, or to disprove it. Oh, look, they're happy. My girl's don't argue with it. But is that true? Let me look and let me see. Let me ask questions about them. No, that doesn't mean anything. Don't try to disprove it. Don't try to control it. Don't try to stop it. Don't try to escape it. Don't argue against it, Because, believe it or not, you can feel triggered at the wedding and notice all those intrusive thoughts and feel anxiety and choose to do nothing about them. And then just allow them to pass through your mind, like grains of sand through a sieve. Just allow it to pass through you. Just allow it, Just to give you an idea of what this looks like, perhaps you'll identify with this. Struggling against the pain, it looks like this. If you're having thoughts like you're going through something, and then you think, I'm such a horrible person for having these thoughts. Oh, look at me. I'm comparing my girl to her. I shouldn't even be doing that. And on the wedding day, and I must be an awful human being for even thinking that, Or you start thinking this thing, comparing, and then you start thinking, I don't want to be thinking these things, especially today. I don't want this. I don't want this. You hear a lot of protest behavior with people who have a lot of rumination. Damn it, why do I have to feel this? I don't want it. And the more you say that, you're not taking away any burdens. You're not taking away the anxiety. If anything, you're making it worse, Hating it. Oh, this anxiety is ruining my life. You can sit there at the wedding and you're feeling anxious, but now you're not just feeling anxious. You're feeling hateful because you hate it. You hate how you feel. You hate these anxiety. Or you ever tell your brain, stop thinking this. Leave me alone, Physically bracing yourself, tightening your muscles. You see that. It's a physiological reaction, like we're being attacked, It's true. It's true. And so we often suffer precisely because we believe we shouldn't be feeling pain in the first place. I shouldn't be feeling this. I shouldn't have to deal with rumination. I don't know what that means. Whenever me says I should do this or I shouldn't do that, I translate in my mind, because I can never make sense of it, to I would prefer. As far as I can tell, that's all they're saying. Like, I shouldn't feel depressed. What does that mean? According to who? Like, did you talk to God? Did the guy who controls your biochemicals contact you, say you made a mistake? What does that mean you shouldn't? I don't even know what that means. And really, if you think about it, it's a meaningless statement. It just means I prefer if I wasn't. But, well, of course. Who wouldn't? Yeah, of course. Okay, fine. I prefer it. It feels a lot different when I say I would prefer not to feel than when I tell myself I shouldn't feel depressed. I shouldn't feel depressed. If I say that, my mind thinks, if I shouldn't, then I could do this. And let me give myself some anxiety and get these emotions to do something about it. We'll do something about it. But oftentimes we do whatever we can, and it's still there. our relationships should be easy. They should be fulfilling, Or this question, I know people like they don't want the solutions, believe me, I'm the same way. They want to know why. Why am I feeling this way? Why? It's like the guy who's like walking and he just like falls into a ditch, and he's just saying like, why am I in a ditch? Why is this hole here? Why am I here? No one else is. Why I fell in and so many people don't? Why? Well, I've seen people get trapped in that introspection, and they stay there for years and they never figure it out. Or they do, and they don't change anyway. They realize that they have insights. So what? Fine, you figured it out. You're still in the hole, But if you ask why, things like that, why? Because we evolved to run from famine and drought, to fight attackers, and to avoid situations to hurt us. Why? Because our anxiety and our panic works when the threat is external. But our problem, the threat is internal. It's not in the bushes, it's in our minds. Well, in that case, if there's no tiger chasing you, then you can't take any actions. You can't run away. Run away from what? It's in your head, the fear. You can just do what you can do. But you can, and it feels helpless. Oh, these thoughts. Well, one way to feel more agency is that you can choose to stop being reactive. Lay down your weapons. I'm not even going to fight with these thoughts. And you accept what you cannot control. And people tell me, I won't say this because this is a ballsy thing to say, but people who are much smarter than me, much more spiritually advanced, have told me, when you stop struggling, you stop suffering. The pain's there. I'm not that advanced, so I don't know about that. Though I do know oftentimes when I've stopped struggling against something, my suffering has lowered, But of course, this is making peace with anxiety, and that no one wants that, But to make peace with anxiety, well, ask you, treat it like anyone else. Your anxiety loves a good fight, like everyone. Loves a good argument, loves a good tug of war, And because the way we're wired, we believe that if we just keep pulling, if we just keep resisting our anxiety, if we just start arguing, we'll win. We'll intellectually convince our anxiety that it's wrong, And instead of doing that, it's like, well, I don't know. What if you just let go of the rope and just let it pull and do its own thing? What if you just stopped fighting the mental messages and instead just leave them unexplored? Whatever. Oh, girlfriend shimmy. Oh yeah, okay, whatever. You don't have to explore that thought. People with this anxiety, they have a lot of rules. Believe me, they're mental. First of all, if they have a thought, they have to take it seriously. Well, that's number one. You can't just have a thought and let it go. No. Two, you have to be very certain about that thought. So my girlfriend shimmy, I had that thought, so I need to take it seriously. And now I have to be 100% certain that she's not. That will never happen. You will always have some doubt if you really obsess about it, So, and this is like a hard saying, a hard lesson. But as long as we believe something shouldn't exist, anything, even traffic, our mind will continue to produce warning messages and anxiety whenever it happens. So if you're in traffic and you think, wait, there's not supposed to be traffic, it shouldn't be this busy, you automatically, what happens? You get angry, you get frustrated, right? Because you have that belief. But if you had no belief, it's traffic, it just happened, are you going to be happy? No. Be frustrated? Yeah, a little bit, a little angry. But you won't be suffering nearly as much. I know, because I've been stuck in traffic where I'm really tense, and I've been stuck in traffic where I'm like, this is awful, but, I'm not going to, my mind's like, this shouldn't be. If you think that, your mind thinks, change it, and you can't. You'll just have all this tension and frustration. One thing you can do, so this is about changing perspectives, one thing you can do is change your definition of what is bad. What is intolerable? What is bad? Me having a thought that my girlfriend's cheating is bad. and it's wrong of me to think that. I'm not giving myself thoughts. Who knows where these thoughts are coming from? Maybe from a childhood wound. Maybe for something I picked up on TV. Maybe this, that, the other thing. I'm not producing these thoughts. I'm not responsible for them. Who says I shouldn't have these thoughts? And I tell you, everyone does. Everyone does. Who says that? What does that mean? That having those thoughts are bad? I can tell you those thoughts are the ones I don't like. I don't think they serve me. But evil or bad? No, I think of thoughts helpful or not helpful. Is that thought helpful? Does that serve me? That's it. That's how I think. Helpful, unhelpful. But people always want to know, is it true? Is it false? Why? And they're just caught up. And I try to be like, well, does that thought serve you? And they'll slowly go back, yeah, but, is it true my girlfriend did it? Oh, man. We thought about that, and you came up with a reasonable answer. You're not certain, but okay. Does it serve you? Does it serve you? Is it, and if you think it's intolerable to have these thoughts. Well, you're going to have them. So maybe they're not so intolerable. I mean, maybe just at least open the possibility that you could live with it. That there's a way you can relate to it. Different than how you're doing it now. That would be tolerable, the big one, I should be more certain. Really? How about this? You should just have those thoughts without resisting them, You don't have to explore them, you have to fix them one bit. And to do this is we're talking about acceptance, of course, but acceptance has to be practiced. You don't read it in a book and then say, okay, I'm going to accept. No. The people in AA, acceptance is something like the key to all, the solution to all my problems, acceptance. Wonderful. I probably, Buddhism, a lot have that, but you have to practice it, And when people hear that, accept your ruminations, accept your anxiety. This is what they hear. They hear, accept defeat. Defeat. Accept that you're defeated. But that's not what this is. Acceptance is really a mature realization that fighting was never the answer. You have these thoughts, fighting them, trying to control them, running away from them, arguing with them, was never the solution. That's what acceptance really is. Although a lot of people do think like, oh, if I accept my thoughts, will it make it worse? But here's actually the real truth. That actually is an issue. It really is. Because I have seen this. In fact, I would even expect it, and this happened to me, that so you're like, okay, I'm going to let these thoughts, I have these thoughts, I've been fighting them forever. I'm just going to give them full play, and I'm just going to let them go wherever the hell they want to. Okay, I'll do this. Let me try accepting it. It's actually fairly realistic to expect a spike of those thoughts temporarily. But I've seen that happen. Like, I'm going to let it go. And then for like the next 3 or 4 days, the person's like, oh, my Lord, maybe this was a mistake, But after a few days, your anxiety realizes, oh, it's not fighting me. It's not arguing with me. It's not getting a response. It's not getting a reaction. It's not getting what it wants from me. It's not getting a payoff. In other words, it becomes a behavior that's producing no emotions. So it will lead to no action. So it's rather meaningless. It kind of loses steam. It loses its reason to be, Another thing that, accepting your thoughts means you agree with them. Oh, no, of course not. Maybe my girlfriend, I accept I have that thought. I don't accept that thought's true. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. I'm just accepting that it's there. I'm not saying I like it. I'm not saying, oh, it's good. I like it. I'm not saying any of that, Not at all, Think about it. You can sit down with someone at the table. We've done it, Thanksgiving, whenever. You can sit down at the table with someone you deeply disagree with, right? Politically on the other side. And you don't have to argue with them. You don't have to. You don't have to prove them wrong. You're wrong about that issue. You don't have to engage them, right? You can sit there and you could have a nice meal. Hopefully they do the same. But you know, just us. I've done that. I've been with people out to dinner, and I know this person has this personality, that person has this opinion, that political, and boy, I really think they're completely wrong on that. But so what? Didn't ruin the friendship. I still enjoy the meal. We talk about other things. Well, if I can do that for a friend, can I do the same thing with anxiety? I mean, really. Can I pull up a chair, you know, be like, okay, here's room for you. What's that? My girlfriend's shaming me? Well, I disagree. It might be true, and I'm not certain. Can't be. But I, and just let it go. Like, whatever. I mean, really, can't you just accept it? That's how this person is. That's how my brain is. Finally, the thing is that after I go through the spiel, you might be thinking like, well, this is way too hard, Jesus, the discipline. I'm exhausted, to really, deal with all this. Okay. Well, I would say acceptance is hard. You're right. Like it is hard, acceptance, and it requires intentional effort. But I would ask you, which is harder? Because we're in the real world. In the real world, you only have a few choices. So, which is harder, Learning to allow the things you can't change, which is hard, I get it. Or spending your entire life fighting and struggling against anxiety. Which is harder? Really. But that is the question. Once you get to the point where you realize, like, I'm always going to have this. I'm always going to have this to some degree. Your next question, as long as you move past that, people get stuck there. Okay, come see me in 10 years when you're ready. When you're ready for acceptance, now you have to say, like, boy, this I'm telling you, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to practice. That's hard. Well, is it easier fighting with this thing day in, day out? With this thing preventing intimacy? Would you rather have anxiety and a relationship, or have the anxiety and no relationship? Because you can't even make it work. You can't even go there. You're too anxious to even take the first step or to be intimate. I don't know. The choice is yours. It really is. But really ask yourself, because in people's minds, that's usually not the choice. The choice is like acceptance or get completely better. I'm going to get completely better. I'm going to cure this thing. These are deep grooves. You can feel better. You can do better. You can give meaning to your life. And you can have a relationship. All those things. But you're probably going to have the anxiety too. If it's that serious. You can feel better. It can abate. There's things you can do. But even if it abates, even if it does, and it will abate, but if it's significantly serious, I've seen that happen, significantly. But significantly, it might even be like 60, 70%. Well, man, you still have 30% rumination. That's no fun. Yeah, imagine living with 30%. That's still something, It's a lot better. Jesus, reduce 70, but still, you still have 30%, But if you have that, wouldn't it be a lot easier if you had that 30% rumination and the relationship? Wouldn't that make it so much easier if you had it and were still taking the actions that you want to take? Wouldn't you feel like you had more agency if you were making the decisions instead of the anxiety? Because right now, the anxiety makes most of our decisions in fear. Am I going to accept that job? Oh, no, because it might crush me. It might. Like, let's just be honest, man. It might be a terrible idea. But, and you got to work it out, so, but if you're not even going to try, if the anxiety is going to prevent you, then it's running your life. It's making those decisions, not you. You might rationally decide, no, that would be a bad idea. That's different. If anxiety is just like, don't even go there because it's too threatening. Forget it. These are the choices, but this is kind of like the hardcore, like stoic kind of wisdom. You kind of get at a certain point where it becomes kind of existentialist, and it's like, listen, brother, at this point you need to accept it. Things can get better. You can get, but accept it. The first part of most healing is to stop fighting. Stop fighting the thing, because you're fighting yourself. So next time we'll talk about like an arsenal for acceptance. But I appreciate you guys listening. Jonathan McCormack, find me at attachmenthealinghelp.com.